Is the iPad Air 4th generation worth buying in 2025? Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech. And in this video, I'm going to talk about if the iPad Air 4th generation is worth taking a look at in 2025. We're going to go over the cameras, the performance, as well as the price, all in this video. Now first, we're going to take a look at the cameras, and then we're going to move on to the performance and the design. So if I go into the camera app here, let me switch it around, show you guys the rear camera. We're going to start with that first, or the front-facing camera rather. The camera on this iPad Air 4th generation has a 7 megapixel front-facing camera, which is good for FaceTime calls and Zoom calls. And the rear camera is a 12 megapixel camera on the back of the iPad Air 4th generation. Now, this particular device only has one singular camera, unlike the iPad Pro, which has two cameras. Now, as far as unlocking this device, it uses Touch ID in the power button. So you simply tap the screen and you will have a sort of logo, and you simply unlock it with Touch ID. Let me show you that one more time. You can also press the power button and it will unlock just like so. Now, as far as the design with this iPad, it does have squared off edges, just like the iPhone 12. And also, this particular device, it has a USB-C charger. I believe the same charger that can charge up an iPhone 15. Now then, as far as performance, this device performs excellent on iOS 18 or iPadOS 18. If we do some scrolling here, this is not a 60 or 120 hertz ProMotion like you would typically find on the iPad Pro. This is a 60 hertz display. And as far as the software that this device is running, we are running the latest version of iPadOS 18.2. Hopefully you guys can see that. We are running iPadOS 18.2. Now, as far as the storage option, it's pretty much the same as it is with the iPhone 12. You have only two options. You have a 64 gig variant, and you also have a 256 variant. Now, the 256 variant, I would consider going for. I would stay away from the 64 gig model if you use your iPad to take a lot of photos and a lot of videos. I would stay away from the 64 gig variant and go with the 256 version. However, if you don't mind having 64 gigs and you don't use your iPad for a lot of photo editing and a lot of video taking, then you should be just fine with 64 gigabytes. Quite surprising though, this is a 64 gig variant, and I have more apps on my iPad than I do on my iPhone, and I still have about 25 or so gigabytes. I would at least have about 25 gigabytes on this particular device. Now, this is not my 3 years later video. That will be coming in March on the 19th. Now then, as far as the pricing on this particular iPad, well, that depends on several factors. A base 64 gig iPad Air 4th generation, since it has been out for 4 years in 2025, will cost around $399 if you go for the 64 gig version. However, if you want 256 gigabytes, that will cost around $449. And if you go for the Wi-Fi plus cellular version, which is honestly my favorite version because it allows you to bring the iPad anywhere you want to go and still be connected to internet, which I love, that will cost about $449 for the base 64 gig variant. And if you want to go fully loaded and get the 256 gigabyte option, that will cost $499. So the fully loaded version will lead you about to $500. Now, I will say, over this particular iPad, there is one I would recommend because it has a chip that is more powerful than this particular device. This iPad has the A14 chip with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I haven't ran any Geekbench scores, but it has the exact same chip as the iPhone 12. Both devices have the A14, and I am currently recording off of my iPhone 12. I made a video on my iPhone 12 yesterday. If you did not see it, I will quickly show it to you as I test the speakers of this particular iPad. Is the iPhone 12 worth it in 2025? Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and in this video, so that was yesterday's video where I talked about the iPhone 12 and if it's worth it in 2025, and I'm doing the exact same video for my iPad Air 4th generation. Now, the M1 iPad Air, I would recommend going for. That was released in March of 2022. It has the M1 chip, and that will be more than enough for Apple Intelligence. I would recommend that device over the iPad Air 4. That is the iPad Air 5. However, if the iPad Air 4 is the only option, then that is one that is safe to probably go for. What do you guys think down in the comments? Let me know what you think. Would you go for the 4th gen iPad Air from 2020, or would you spend a little bit more money and get the refurbished iPad Air 5th gen? You can find both devices refurbished. The latest iPad Air is the one that was released last year in May, the M2 iPad Air 6th generation. That one, though, will be quite expensive. So if you have all the money in the world, you can go for that one. However, if you don't, I would probably stay away from that one if you're on a budget. Now, it does start off with 128 gigabytes for last year's new iPad Air model. But I would still recommend, if you have all the money, that device. But if you don't, something like either the iPad Air 4 or the iPad Air 5. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I will see you guys later.